The vibrant colors of the alien marketplace swirled around Nathan and Arya as they made their way through the crowded stalls. The air was thick with the scent of exotic spices and the chatter of a dozen different species. Nathan's hand rested protectively on the small of Arya's back, guiding her through the throng of beings that towered over them. "Look at these, Nathan," Arya exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder as she pointed to a display of iridescent fruits. "I've never seen anything like them." Nathan smiled, cherishing the excitement in his wife's voice. It was moments like these that made their decision to settle on this alien world worthwhile. He reached out to examine one of the fruits, its skin cool and smooth beneath his fingers. Well, what do we have here?" A gravelly voice interrupted. "Some little humans far from home." Nathan turned slowly, his body tensing instinctively. 3 Vraxians stood before them, their scaled skin gleaming in the market's artificial light. The tallest of the group, clearly the leader, leered down at them with 4 yellow eyes. "We're just shopping," Nathan said evenly, positioning himself slightly in front of Arya. "No need for trouble." The Vraxian leader, Krell, laughed, a harsh sound that grated on Nathan's nerves. "Trouble? Who said anything about trouble? We're just curious about our little neighbors." Arya stepped forward, her chin raised defiantly. "We have as much right to be here as anyone else." Krell's companions snickered, their forked tongues flicking out in amusement. "Oh, it speaks," the one to Krell's left hissed. "And here I thought humans were only good for menial labor." Nathan felt a familiar cold anger settling in his gut, a sensation he hadn't experienced in years. He'd left that life behind when he met Arya, buried the skills that had once made him one of the most feared operatives in the galaxy. But now, faced with these alien bullies, he felt the old instincts stirring. "Come on, Arya," Nathan said quietly, tugging gently at her arm. "Let's go somewhere else." But Krell wasn't finished. With lightning speed, he reached out and snatched the fruit from Nathan's hand. "Oops," he said with mock concern. "I don't think you can afford this, little human. Best stick to your own food." The marketplace had gone quiet, other shoppers stopping to watch the confrontation. Nathan could feel their eyes on him, some curious, others hostile. He knew they were outnumbered, outgunned, and definitely out of their league in terms of physical strength, but something in him refused to back down. "Give it back," Nathan said, his voice low and dangerous. Krell's eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed in anger. "What did you say to me, human?" "I said," Nathan repeated, enunciating each word clearly, "give it back." For a moment, tension crackled in the air between them. Then Krell laughed again, this time with genuine amusement. "Oh, this is rich. The little human thinks he can stand up to us. What are you going to do, Tiny? Fight us?" Nathan remained silent, his eyes locked on Krell's. He could feel Arya's hand on his arm, squeezing tightly in warning or support, he wasn't sure which. "Nathan," she whispered urgently. "It's not worth it. Let's just go." But it was too late. Krell, emboldened by Nathan's silence, reached out and shoved him hard. Nathan stumbled back, nearly losing his footing. The crowd gasped, some in shock, others in anticipation of what might come next. "Stop it," Arya cried out, stepping between Nathan and the Vraxians. "Leave us alone." Krell's eyes gleamed with malice. "Or what, little female? You'll cry at us." Everything seemed to slow down for Nathan. He saw Krell's hand reaching for Arya, saw the fear and determination in his wife's eyes, saw the eager anticipation on the faces of the watching crowd. In that moment, he made a decision that would change everything. As Krell's scaled fingers were about to close around Arya's arm, Nathan moved. Years of training and instinct took over, his body responding with a speed and precision that shocked everyone, including himself. His hand shot out, grabbing Krell's wrist and twisting it sharply. The Vraxian leader let out a roar of pain and surprise, stumbling backward. His companions, caught off guard, hesitated for a crucial second. Nathan used that moment to push Arya behind him, settling into a fighting stance that felt as natural as breathing. "I warned you," Nathan said, his voice calm despite the adrenaline surging through his veins. "Now, we can all walk away from this, or things can get very unpleasant." The marketplace had gone deathly silent. All eyes were on the small human who had dared to stand up to the Vraxian bullies. Krell, nursing his wrist, glared at Nathan with a mixture of rage and disbelief. "You'll regret this, human," he snarled. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Nathan allowed himself a small, grim smile. "No," he replied softly. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." As the Vraxians prepared to attack, Nathan knew that his peaceful life on this alien world was about to change dramatically. But with Arya behind him and the skills he'd hoped never to use again at his disposal, he was ready to face whatever came next. The confrontation that would reshape the relationship between humans and aliens on this distant planet was about to begin. The marketplace erupted into chaos as Krell and his companions lunged at Nathan. Their massive forms cast shadows over the human, but Nathan remained unfazed. Years of training kicked in, muscle memory guiding his movements with fluid precision. As the first Vraxian reached him, Nathan ducked under the alien's swinging arm. In one smooth motion, he pivoted, using the alien's momentum against him. With a well-placed strike to the back of the knee, Nathan sent the hulking creature crashing to the ground. Arya watched in astonishment, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe. "Nathan," she gasped, "what are you doing?" But Nathan couldn't respond. He was fully immersed in the fight, his senses heightened to a razor's edge. The second Vraxian charged, his clawed hands reaching for Nathan's throat. With lightning-fast reflexes, Nathan sidestepped the attack, grabbing the alien's arm and using his own weight to flip him over. The crowd around them began to murmur in amazement. Never before had they seen a human move with such skill and power. Krell, realizing that this was no ordinary human, snarled in rage. "You think you're clever, little man," he roared. "Let's see how you handle this." Krell reached behind his back, pulling out a small device that hummed with energy. Nathan recognized it immediately, a neural disruptor, illegal on most civilized worlds. If it touched him, he'd be paralyzed in seconds. "Nathan, watch out," Arya cried, her voice cutting through the din of the marketplace. Time seemed to slow for Nathan. He could see the fear in Arya's eyes, the malicious glee on Krell's face, the shocked expressions of the onlookers. In that moment, he made a choice. No more hiding, no more pretending to be less than he was. As Krell lunged forward with the neural disruptor, Nathan moved with inhuman speed. His hand shot out, catching Krell's wrist in a vice-like grip. With a quick twist, he forced the Vraxian to drop the weapon. "Big mistake," Nathan said, his voice low and dangerous. What happened next was almost too fast for the crowd to follow. Nathan became a blur of motion, striking with precision and power that belied his human frame. Krell, despite his size and strength, found himself overwhelmed. Each of his attacks was countered, each of his defenses breached. In less than a minute, all three Vraxians lay groaning on the ground, with Nathan standing unscathed above them. The marketplace had fallen into a stunned silence, broken only by the ragged breathing of the defeated aliens. Nathan turned to Arya, concern etched on his face. "Are you all right?" he asked, reaching out to her. Arya nodded, still in shock. "Nathan, how? What was that?" Before he could answer, a new voice cut through the silence. "Step away from the aliens, human." Nathan turned to see a group of peacekeepers, the planet's law enforcement, pushing through the crowd. Their weapons were drawn, pointed squarely at him. "Wait," Arya called out. "You don't understand. These aliens attacked us first. My husband was just defending us." The lead peacekeeper, a tall, insectoid creature, clicked its mandibles in agitation. "Is this true?" it asked, addressing the crowd. To Nathan's surprise, several aliens in the crowd stepped forward, nodding and chittering in agreement. The fruit vendor, a small tentacle being, waved its appendages excitedly. The human speaks truth, it gurgled. The Vraxians were bullying them. The human only fought back when they attacked. The peacekeeper considered this for a moment, then lowered its weapon. Very well, it said. But I'm afraid you'll all need to come with us to sort this out officially. As the peacekeepers began to help the battered Vraxians to their feet, Nathan turned to Arya. The adrenaline was wearing off, and he could see the questions forming in her eyes. I'm sorry, he said softly. I never wanted you to see that side of me. Arya reached out, taking his hand in hers. Nathan, what aren't you telling me? Who are you, really? Nathan sighed, knowing that the life he had built here was about to change forever. It's a long story, he said, and I promise I'll tell you everything. But right now, we need to deal with this. As they followed the peacekeepers out of the marketplace, Nathan could feel the eyes of every alien on them. The whispers had already started, tales of the human who had taken down 3 Vraxians single-handedly. He knew that word would spread quickly on this small world. Their peaceful life of anonymity was over. The skills and the past that Nathan had tried so hard to leave behind had resurfaced, and now he would have to face the consequences. As they walked, he squeezed Arya's hand, drawing strength from her presence. Whatever came next, they would face it together. But first, Nathan knew he had a lot of explaining to do. The truth about his past, long buried, was about to come to light, and in this alien world, far from Earth, that truth could be more dangerous than any physical threat they had faced today. The sterile white walls of the peacekeepers' station seemed to close in on Nathan as he sat across from Arya in the small interrogation room. The events in the marketplace had led them here, and now in the quiet aftermath, the weight of his actions pressed heavily upon him. Arya's eyes, usually warm and full of love, now held a mixture of confusion and concern. Nathan, she began, her voice barely above a whisper, I need to know. What happened out there? Who are you? Nathan took a deep breath, running his hands through his hair. The moment he had dreaded for years had finally arrived. Arya, I'm not who you think I am. Or rather, I'm not only who you think I am. He paused, searching for the right words. Before we met, before I came to this planet, I was an operative, an assassin, to be blunt. Arya's sharp intake of breath cut through the silence. An assassin. But how? Why? I was recruited young, Nathan explained, his voice low and measured. Earth's government had a secret program. They took people with certain aptitudes and turned them into weapons. I was one of their best. As he spoke, memories flooded back. Missions in the darkest corners of the galaxy, targets eliminated with cold efficiency, years of living in the shadows. I did things, Arya. Terrible things. All in the name of Earth's security and dominance. Arya listened, her face a mask of shock and disbelief. But you left? Why? Nathan's eyes met hers, and for a moment, he was transported back to the day they met. Because of you, he said softly. When I met you, I saw a chance at a different life. A chance to be more than just a weapon. I left it all behind, hoping to start over. The silence that followed was deafening. Arya's mind raced, trying to reconcile the man she loved with this new, dangerous version of him. Why didn't you tell me? She finally asked, her voice trembling. I was afraid, Nathan admitted. Afraid of losing you. Afraid of my past catching up with us. I thought if I could just forget, if I could just be Nathan the settler, the nobody, we could have a normal life. Before Arya could respond, the door slid open. The insectoid peacekeeper entered, its compound eyes reflecting the harsh light of the room. We've reviewed the footage from the marketplace. It clicked. Your story checks out. The Vraxians will be charged with assault and possession of illegal weapons. Nathan nodded, relief washing over him. But the peacekeeper wasn't finished. However, it continued, mandibles twitching. Your display of combat skills has raised concerns. We have no record of your background, Nathan Reeves. Care to explain? Nathan felt Arya's eyes on him, silently urging him to tell the truth. He took a deep breath. I'm a former Earth operative, he said, watching the peacekeeper's antennae twitch in surprise. "I left that life behind when I came here. I just wanted to live in peace." The peacekeeper was silent for a moment, processing this information. "I see," it finally said. "This complicates matters. Earth operatives are not well regarded in this sector." "I understand," Nathan replied. "But I swear, I'm not here on any mission. This is my home now." The insectoid's head tilted, considering. "Perhaps, but others may not see it that way. Word of your skills will spread. There are those who may see you as a threat or an opportunity." Arya spoke up, her voice stronger now. "What does that mean for us?" "It means," the peacekeeper said, "that your lives here are about to change. We cannot guarantee your safety if others learn of your past." Nathan Reeves. As the implications of those words sank in, Nathan felt a familiar tension creeping back into his muscles. The peaceful life he had built with Arya suddenly seemed to be slipping away. "What are our options?" he asked, already knowing he wouldn't like the answer. The peacekeeper's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "You could leave the planet, start over somewhere new. Or," it paused, antennae twitching, "you could stay and face whatever comes. But know this, if you choose to stay, you may be called upon to use your skills again." Nathan looked at Arya, seeing the turmoil in her eyes. Everything had changed in the span of a few hours. Their quiet life, their plans for the future, all of it hung in the balance. "We need time to think," Arya said, her voice steady despite the circumstances. "Can we go home?" The peacekeeper nodded. "You're free to go, but be cautious. Your actions today have not gone unnoticed." As they left the station, stepping out into the alien twilight, Nathan felt exposed in a way he hadn't in years. The streets that had once felt like home now seemed full of potential threats. Every shadow could hide an enemy, every passerby a potential informant. "Nathan," Arya said as they walked, her hand gripping his tightly, "what are we going to do?" He wished he had an answer for her. The skills he had tried so hard to forget were now their greatest asset and their biggest liability. As they made their way home, Nathan knew that the coming days would test them in ways they had never imagined. The peace they had found on this alien world had been shattered. Now they would have to decide, run and hide, or stand and fight. Either way, Nathan knew that his past had finally caught up with him. And in this moment, walking through the streets of their adopted home, he silently vowed to do whatever it took to protect the life and the love he had found with Arya. The real test was just beginning. The following days passed in a haze of tension and uncertainty for Nathan and Arya. Their small apartment, once a haven of normalcy, now felt like a prison. Every unexpected noise made them jump, every shadow outside their window a potential threat. On the third day after the marketplace incident, as they sat in tense silence over a meal neither of them was eating, a sharp knock at the door made them both freeze. Nathan's hand instinctively moved to the makeshift weapon he fashioned from kitchen utensils. "Stay here," he whispered to Arya, moving silently towards the door. But when he opened it, instead of the expected threat, he found himself face to face with Zix, their Paloxian neighbor. The amorphous alien's surface rippled with anxiety. "Nathan, Arya," Zix burbled, its voice low and urgent. "You need to see this." Zix extended a gelatinous pseudopod, offering a datapad. On the screen, a news report played silently. Nathan's blood ran cold as he saw footage of himself in the marketplace, taking down the Vraxians with ruthless efficiency. The headline scrolled across the bottom, "Earth A Assassin Exposed. Danger to our community." "It's all over the feeds," Zix said, its body fluctuating with concern. "Everyone's talking about it. Some are scared. Others are angry." Nathan felt Arya's hand on his arm, steadying him. "Thank you for showing us, Zix," she said, her voice calm despite the fear Nathan could see in her eyes. As Zix departed with a worried burble, Nathan closed the door, leaning against it heavily. "It's happening," he said, his voice hollow. "Just like the peacekeeper warned. Our cover's blown." Arya took the datapad, her face pale as she watched the footage. "What do we do now?" she asked, looking up at Nathan. Before he could answer, another knock came at the door, harder this time, more insistent. Nathan tensed, pushing Arya behind him as he approached the door cautiously. "Mr. Reeves," a familiar voice called out. "This is Chief Peacekeeper Clarix. We need to talk." Nathan opened the door to find the insectoid peacekeeper from the station, flanked by two heavily armed guards. "May we come in?" Clarix asked, though it was clear it wasn't really a question. Once inside, Clarix's compound eyes surveyed the small apartment before settling on Nathan and Arya. "The situation has escalated," the peacekeeper said without preamble. "Your identity has been leaked to the public. We believe the Vraxians are behind it." "What does this mean for us?" Arya asked, her hand finding Nathan's. Clarix's antennae twitched. "It means you're no longer safe here. There are already calls for your deportation, Mr. Reeves. Some extremist groups are demanding more permanent solutions." Nathan felt a cold anger settling in his gut. "So that's it? You're kicking us off world?" "Not exactly," Clarix replied, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "We have a proposition for you." The peacekeeper explained that a group of anti-human extremists, led by a charismatic Vraxian named Draz, had been gaining power. They were using Nathan's exposure as a rallying cry, stoking fears about human infiltration. "We believe they're planning something big," Clarix said. "Something that could destabilize the entire sector. We need someone with your skills to infiltrate their organization and stop them." Nathan felt Arya's grip on his hand tighten. "You want me to be a spy?" he asked incredulously. "We want you to be who you are," Clarix responded. "A skilled operative who can prevent a catastrophe and in doing so, prove that not all humans are a threat." The room fell silent as Nathan and Arya absorbed the weight of this proposal. It was a chance to stay, to clear their names, but it also meant diving back into the world Nathan had tried so hard to leave behind. "And if I refuse?" Nathan asked, already knowing the answer. Clarix's compound eyes seemed to dim. "Then we cannot guarantee your safety. You would have to leave, immediately and permanently." As the peacekeepers left, promising to return the next day for an answer, Nathan and Arya found themselves facing the most difficult decision of their lives. "I can't ask you to do this," Arya said, her voice barely above a whisper. "To go back to that life, to put yourself in danger." Nathan pulled her close, feeling the tremor in her body. "And I can't ask you to leave everything we've built here," he replied. "This is our home, Arya. We fought for this life." They spent the night talking, weighing their options, confronting fears they both kept buried. As the alien sun began to rise, painting their small apartment in hues of purple and green, they reached a decision. When Clarix returned, Nathan met the peacekeeper's gaze steadily. "We'll do it," he said, feeling Arya's supportive presence aside him. "But on one condition, we do this together. Arya's not just my wife, she's my partner. In everything." Clarix's antennae twitched in surprise, but after a moment, the insectoid nodded. "Very well, then let's begin. We don't have much time." As Clarix began to outline the mission, Nathan felt a familiar rush of adrenaline. The skills he'd tried to suppress for so long were resurging, sharpening his senses, focusing his mind. But this time, it was different. This time, he wasn't fighting for some faceless government or shadowy organization. He was fighting for his home, for his life with Arya, for a future they dared to dream of on this alien world. The game had changed, and the stakes had never been higher. But as Nathan looked at Arya, seeing the determination in her eyes matching his own, he knew they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Their new mission, and the true test of their love and resolve, was about to begin. The underbelly of the alien city pulsed with a different kind of life as Nathan and Arya made their way through the winding alleys. Neon signs in a dozen different languages cast an eerie glow over the diverse crowd of species, all seeking pleasures or conducting business best kept away from prying eyes. Nathan's hand never strayed far from the concealed weapon at his hip, a gift from Clorix. Arya walked beside him, her newly honed senses alert for any sign of danger. The past few weeks had transformed them both, turning them into a formidable team. "There," Arya whispered, nodding towards a dilapidated building. A faded sign above the door flickered weakly, "The Nebula's Edge." As they approached, a hulking Cronan bouncer blocked their path. "Password," it rumbled, four eyes narrowing suspiciously. "Starfall," Nathan replied, the word feeling strange on his tongue. The Cronan grunted and stepped aside, allowing them entry. Inside, the bar was a cacophony of sounds and smells. Species from across the galaxy mingled, some Nathan couldn't even name. In a shadowy corner, they spotted their contact, a lithe, feline-like creature with iridescent fur. "Mrexa," Nathan greeted, sliding into the booth. Arya sat beside him, her eyes scanning the room continuously. The alien's tail twitched nervously. "You shouldn't have come," Mrexa hissed. "Draz's people are everywhere. They're planning something big, something soon." "That's why we're here," Arya said, her voice low but firm. "We need details, Mrexa. What exactly is Draz planning?" Before the alien could respond, a commotion near the bar caught their attention. A group of Vraxians had entered, their scaled hides gleaming menacingly in the low light. Nathan recognized one of them, Krell, the bully from the marketplace. "We need to move," Nathan whispered urgently, but it was too late. Krell's eyes locked onto them, a cruel smile spreading across his reptilian features. Well, Krell's voice boomed across the bar. "Look who we have here, the human assassin and his little mate." The bar fell silent, all eyes turning towards their corner. Nathan felt Arya tense beside him, ready for action. Mrixa's fur stood on end, a low growl emanating from its throat. "We don't want trouble, Krell," Nathan said calmly, though his body was coiled like a spring. "We're just here for a drink." Krell laughed, a harsh sound that set Nathan's teeth on edge. "Trouble? Oh, it's far too late for that, human. Draz has plans for you. Big plans." As Krell and his cronies advanced, Nathan made a split-second decision. "Mrexa," he said quietly, "get ready to run." What happened next was a blur of motion. Nathan overturned the table, creating a momentary barrier. Arya, moving with a grace that still surprised him, launched herself at the nearest Vraxian. Mrexa, understanding the plan without words, darted towards a hidden back exit. The bar erupted into chaos. Species of all kinds scrambled to get out of the way as Nathan and Arya fought their way through the Vraxian group. Nathan's combat skills, honed by years of covert operations, meshed seamlessly with Arya's newly acquired abilities. As they battled, Nathan caught glimpses of unexpected allies. A Trill bartender smashed a bottle over a Vraxian's head. A pair of Andorian traders joined the fray, their antennae quivering with excitement. "This way," Mrexa called from the back of the bar. Nathan grabbed Arya's hand, and they sprinted towards the exit, dodging blaster fire and flying debris. They burst out into a narrow alley, the sounds of the fight fading behind them. Mrexa led them through a maze of back streets, finally stopping in a small hidden courtyard. That was incredible," Mrexa panted, eyes wide with admiration. "I've never seen anyone fight like that." Nathan and Arya exchanged a glance, both breathing heavily but unharmed. "We make a good team," Arya said, a small smile playing on her lips. "Indeed you do," a new voice said. They spun around to see a hooded figure emerge from the shadows. As the hood fell back, Nathan gasped in recognition. "Ambassador Telan," he breathed. The Vulcan's face was as impassive as ever, but there was a glint of something, approval, in her eyes. "Mr. and Mrs. Reeves," Telan said, inclining her head slightly. "Your reputation precedes you. It seems the peacekeepers chose wisely." "You're working with the peacekeepers?" Arya asked, surprise evident in her voice. Tilan's eyebrow arched slightly. The situation is more complex than you know. Draz's movement threatens not just this world, but the delicate balance of power in the entire sector. We need your help. As Tilan began to explain the true scope of the threat they faced, Nathan felt a mix of emotions wash over him. Fear, excitement, determination, and underneath it all, a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. He looked at Arya, saw the same emotions reflected in her eyes, and knew they were thinking the same thing. This wasn't just about clearing their names anymore. It wasn't even just about saving their adopted home. They were part of something bigger now. A coalition of species working together to prevent a catastrophe that could reshape the galaxy. And somehow, improbably, they found themselves at the center of it all. As Tilan finished outlining their next moves, Nathan took Arya's hand, squeezing it gently. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The former assassin and the woman who had given him a reason to live, now the unlikely linchpins in a plan to save not just a world, but an entire sector of space. The real battle was about to begin, and Nathan Rees was ready to show the galaxy exactly what humanity was capable of. The command center hummed with activity, a blend of alien technologies creating a symphony of beeps, clicks, and whirs. Nathan stood at the center of it all, studying a holographic map of the city. Beside him, Arya coordinated with a diverse team of aliens, each bringing unique skills to their desperate mission. Draz's forces are gathering here, Tilan said, a slender finger pointing to a pulsing red dot on the map. Our intelligence suggests they plan to detonate a quantum resonance bomb, destabilizing the planet's core. Nathan's jaw tightened. That would destroy not just the city, but the entire world. And spark a war that would engulf the sector, Clorix added, mandibles clicking anxiously. Arya stepped forward, her eyes scanning the tactical readouts. We can't let that happen. What's our plan? Nathan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of countless lives on his shoulders. We strike first, he said, his voice steady with resolve. A small team infiltrates Draz's compound, while the peacekeepers and our allies create a diversion. The next few hours were a whirlwind of preparation. Nathan found himself working alongside beings he once would have considered enemies, a Klingon weapons expert, a Ferengi hacker, even a reformed Borg drone. It was a testament to the threat they faced that such disparate species could come together. As the twin suns began to set, casting an eerie glow over the alien landscape, Nathan and Arya stood at the edge of the compound. Their team, a mix of the best operatives from a dozen worlds, waited for the signal. Nathan, Arya whispered, her hand finding his in the growing darkness. Whatever happens in there, I want you to know I don't regret any of it. Coming here, learning the truth about you, facing all of this, it's been the adventure of a lifetime. Nathan turned to her, seeing in her eyes the same mix of fear and determination he felt. Arya, he said softly, you gave me a reason to be more than just a weapon. Whatever happens, know that you saved me long before any of this began. Their moment was interrupted by a series of explosions in the distance. The diversion had begun. That's our cue, Nathan said, slipping back into mission mode. Let's move. The infiltration was a blur of action. Nathan's years of training meshed seamlessly with the unique abilities of his alien teammates. They fought their way through Draz's defenses, a whirlwind of human ingenuity and extraterrestrial powers. Finally, they reached the heart of the compound. Draz stood before them, his scaled form looming over a device that pulsed with ominous energy. You're too late, human, Draz snarled, his forked tongue flicking out in agitation. This world, this entire sector, will learn to fear us, and it begins now. As Draz lunged for the detonator, time seemed to slow for Nathan. He saw Arya moving to intercept, saw his alien allies preparing their final assault. In that moment, he made a decision. With lightning speed, Nathan threw himself forward. He tackled Draz, sending them both crashing into the quantum bomb. As they grappled, Nathan felt the device beginning to overload, its energy building to a catastrophic level. "Aria," he shouted. "The failsafe, now." Aria didn't hesitate. She raced to the bomb, her fingers flying over alien controls. The rest of the team held off Draz's reinforcements, buying her the precious seconds she needed. Just as the device reached critical mass, Aria activated the failsafe. A blinding light filled the room, and Nathan felt a searing pain course through his body. Then darkness. When Nathan opened his eyes, he found himself in a pristine medical bay. Aria sat beside him, her face tired but radiant with relief. "Did we?" Nathan began, his voice hoarse. "We did it," Aria confirmed, squeezing his hand. "The bomb was contained. Draz is in custody. The sector is safe." Over the next few days, as Nathan recovered, he learned the full impact of their actions. The thwarted attack had exposed Draz's network, leading to a sector-wide roundup of extremists. More importantly, it had shown what could be achieved when different species worked together. A week later, Nathan and Aria stood before the Planetary Council. Aliens of all shapes and sizes filled the chamber, their eyes fixed on the human couple who had helped save their world. "Nathan and Aria Rees," the council leader announced, her voice resonating through the hall. "You came to our world seeking a new life. Instead, you gave new life to our entire society. Your actions have not only saved countless lives, but have opened a new chapter in interspecies cooperation." As Nathan and Aria were awarded the highest honors the planet could bestow, Nathan reflected on their journey. They had come seeking anonymity, a chance to escape his past. Instead, they had found a purpose greater than either of them could have imagined. The ceremony concluded, and as they walked out into the alien sunshine, Nathan turned to Aria. "So," he said with a smile, "what's our next adventure?" Aria laughed, a sound that still made Nathan's heart soar. "Well," she said, her eyes twinkling with mischief, "I hear the Andromeda Galaxy is nice this time of year." As they walked hand in hand through the streets of their adopted home, no longer outcasts but heroes, Nathan knew that whatever challenges the universe held, they would face them together. The former assassin and the woman who had given him a second chance had found their place among the stars, bridging worlds and proving that humanity's greatest strength was its capacity for growth, love, and unity. The end of one chapter was just the beginning of an even greater adventure.